Hi, and welcome to Talking in Stations. This is Whoisafish, and today we're going to meet another epic player of Eve known as Rebel. Now, Rebel is part of the Spanish community, and she is a newer player to Eve. But one of the incredible things that when I spoke to Rebel, learning from her, was that she is literally learning English just to play this game. Unfortunately, Eve Online does not have the option to play in Spanish, which I definitely think that should be something we address in terms of localization. But today we're going to be entering Rebel, and she's going to tell us a little bit about the communication, the different kinds of ships she flies, and some of the things that she loves about Eve. Epic players of Eve. Welcome, Rebel. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you?
Fantastic. So, where are you from?
I'm from Spain now. I'm living in Burgos. It's a small city in Spain, not a bigger one.
Oh, that's
But
very cool. And so, Rebel is your in-game name.
uh-huh, yeah.
And or when did you join the Eve community?
Uh, I the first time when I knew about Eve, it was about 4 years ago, and I was with another tune called Ratona. Ratona is female mouse. And someone told me that it is not a prepaid name for Eve because we kill rats. So I decided to change it 4 years ago, and I was lucky because just when I entered in the game, I met this, Spanish people, and this made it easier for me because if it's a very complex game, and for Hispanic is even more uh, because of the language, of course.
Language, yeah. And
Mm.
it can be difficult to communicate, but your team does communicate with other people, and being Spanish, it can be a little bit harder. What do you enjoy about meeting with the international communities? Because does your team only play with other players from Spain, or do you have other people that you know that you play with that are from around the world?
Yeah, we play with people around the world. Actually, I am in a Hispanic corporation, but we belong to a international alliance. So we have to play in English, and that is a challenge. So I like it. I'm not a CEO, so I don't have to chat a lot with international people. But we have communication. We have to move well, like a group. We have to make things together, and that's the good thing that we have communication each other.
So I think that's one of the most incredible things when we play these types of games. Like, for example, Rebel literally is learning another language just to be able to play. This is one thing that's going to be different in Eve Echoes, which I believe is a huge opportunity for the Spanish community. Spanish is a language that is available in Eve Echoes, and it's such a large community. It kind of baffles my mind that it's not in Eve Online yet. However, this kind of brings up the point in terms of when we play these types of games, we use a lot of different interactive tools to help communicate. So oftentimes we don't just stick with the game. You're going to be using different kinds of apps like Discord, WeChat, WhatsApp, Telegram. You're going to be using a lot of different things. Hi, Arnis, welcome. So, in terms of Rebel, it was just incredible to hear her tell me all about the little language barriers she's learned because Eve is already such a complex game. So, it was really interesting to hear how someone would still go out of their way to play this kind of game. It really does show in terms of when we want to help each other out. Like, there's a massive difference between the international alliances who overcome some of those language barriers. And it's definitely one thing that I'd like to highlight in a game like this. People who speak multiple languages or can learn multiple languages end up being very valuable assets because they end up becoming people who can play roles in diplomatic solutions, just anything that's going to require some extra communication.
You meet people, real people. You meet feelings, and you meet uh, friendship, and actually I met my boyfriend here.
Oh, really? In Eve?
Yeah.
That's so
It
cool. There's and I know many stories of people who find someone and fall in love in Eve. That's actually common. And I think a lot of people don't realize how real this world can be, that there are the real feelings when you get betrayed. It really does hurt, but you also learn. There's so much opportunity because you can be good or evil. You can have those two components.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to ask, are you considered, would you consider yourself a gamer? Are you a gamer? Do you play other games? If so?
Actually, not. But I like playing if, but I'm not a gamer. I don't consider myself a gamer because I don't know how to say. I don't know anything. I'm too noob.
That's
so
that's okay. New, you have to start somewhere. Um,
so
but
I spent several hours per day, by maybe 2-3 hours per day playing Eve, but I don't consider that I'm a gamer because of that, because I don't know anything. I have plenty of things to learn that for me it's impossible to say no I'm a gamer. No, of course not. I'm not, but I like it. I will try to.
that's awesome. Can you share any stories of any other players that might have influenced you in the game?
Mm, yes, but all of them are influence. You mean female players?
Okay.
Yeah, I met Grey Gal. She's a FC, and I like her. I like her job, and also Arrow Speed. Both are in different alliances, and both are trying to teach new people like me, and they have a lot of patience, and they have that. Then they're explaining really slowly, and they are talking in English, but it's slow, just to let us know step by step how to do this, how to do that. Don't be sad if you lose your ship, things like that, because sometimes people quit the game because they are losing their ships, or because they are scammed or something like that. No, this I like this woman's work because they encouraged you.
So if they foster more of the community together, you feel
Uh-huh.
welcomed and you feel like you might be new, but that doesn't mean that you aren't as good of a player. It just means you have opportunity to learn.
Uh-huh.
And I do think that the world of Eve is dangerous. There people can shoot down your ship, but just as much as you can face people who want to attack you, you're also going to have the people who say, "Hey, come join our team. We'll show you the ropes. We'll show you how to do things." Um, now, have you ever had an experience where someone has scammed you or screwed you over in the game that you want to share?
Yes, once when I was started, I thought that I had friends. I mean, uh, kind of, and they used to me. They use my information to attack another, and also they attacked me. I lose my caracal. You know, a caracal is a
Yeah.
it's very cheap, very cheap. But it was for me was the worst. Come on, you step my back and and use my information to kill another people, and I didn't come over it. I'm still remember it was a year ago. Come on, but I can go away. I can let it go. I can't.
So what did you learn from this? Has this made you smarter or wiser so you don't repeat that mistake?
Yeah, now you have to learn who do you have to trust on. Yeah, even if it is this is the game, I didn't lose really nothing, because I didn't lose nothing. But now you put more filters and realize that this is only a game and chill. Yes, and
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
still
take it.
here. You're still
Yeah,
here. These people attacked you, but you are here. You're
uh-huh.
breathing. It's okay. Everything will be okay.
Yeah,
And
yes,
you'll find them and you can get
I will get my revenge.
retaliate. So that definitely is something I resonate with in terms of retaliation. Remember, in Eve, you really do have those two dynamics. You have that really cool area where you find that team that's going to help teach you and show you the ropes in the game. But you're also going to have the people who scam you in the market, who betray you, who take your knowledge and use it against you. So it sounds like Rebel is still salty about it. But I mean, this is pretty incredible. She not only has she learned another language to play, she's met her boyfriend, which I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to promise that you're going to find your soulmate, but this is actually not the first person who's told me they have met their significant other via a game. Because it really does go beyond a second barrier of a game. It teaches you a lot of things. And as Rebel said, she's not necessarily a gamer per se, but this kind of becomes more of a lifestyle. It's that ambition simulator where you can try different things. From some of the sounds of it, it sounds like she's kind of tried a variety of things. She's gone into different teams. At first, she almost quit, but when she found the right team, it gave her a different experience in her gameplay. So even when you get down, you can always try to figure out another strategy and then pick yourself back up again, because really at the end of the day, as a game, you are free to make those mistakes, because mistakes become stories in these types of games.
About quitting the game, because there was a time that I was alone and bored. Then was when I realized that I need to be with people, with a group of people. And I was about to quit when Matral, do you know for sure, know Matral?
Yes,
Yeah,
Matterhorn.
he told me, no, don't worry, I will find you a corporation, and he hit my corporation. I really thank him.
Aw.
I really appreciate it, and I love my corporation.
Yay, that's good. It's not. I had another player say this, that it's not always, you don't always find the perfect team in the first time that you play. It takes some time to find your crew, to find your tribe, to find the people you like and that you get along with. But it does take time. I think that people go into a game expecting it to be perfect, and it it for you, it sounds like you now are way happier, but if you didn't stick it out, you might not have met this team.
Yeah, so I don't regret anything in my past. I think it happened because it had to happen.
That's so good to hear. So speaking of female gamers, is there anything you would like to say to any potential female gamers who might want to try out Eve?
Yes, I think there are more women playing it than we know, but they are scared to show themselves because this is a main world, and they are trolls, really. They are trolling every day. That I tell her that don't be scared, show yourself, show you way of being, and don't put just your face and that's it. No, you are a person like them, and you can show them you can play. And if you can't kill as much as they kill, you can do other things. Because I'm really proud of me because I'm learning logi. I don't kill. Okay, I don't know how to kill, but I know how to heal. I'm proud of me, kind of.
Now, for those of you who don't know, in Eve you can play different ships, and those kind of become different characters. So they do different things in a fleet. A lot of people kind of get stressed out in terms of it's overwhelming where they're not necessarily wanting to fight or shoot people. They can't kill. So Rebel was explaining that she's not necessarily a DPS. She likes to do logi. So there's a few different types of kind of styles you can play. One being logi. You have your tanks, you have your DPS, and you have your tackle. So you've got quite a few different kind of options here. And specifically, logi is a healer. So a logi would be targeting their own team and trying to heal them from the enemy team. Then your tank is going to be the one that takes damage. These will require different modules. That means the way that you build your ships are a little different. So in terms of thinking about your playstyle, you really have to put in some effort before you start getting into your role, because if you want to explore logi later on, you might have to skilled up differently than as a DPS or a tackler. So just keep those things in mind as you enter in the game. It really does require some thought as you set up. Now, logi specifically is going to be useful in like fleet operations, large scale PvE, and large scale PvP. And speaking of PvP, we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us named Virtual Person. Virtual Person is from Serbia and he speaks about 5 languages. Now, he has been in the proofreading test. I believe he's been in the other beta, but he's been a long EVE Online player since about 2009, and he's coming into the Echoes community to give some feedback about the latest Citadel Defense tests.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me on the live show. It's my pleasure.
Oh, one
Well,
second.
all right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me live on the show. The Citadel test was there to pretty much test out the servers that the game will be operated on because a large-scale mass PvP is part of EVE and it is also part of the PC version of the game, and it will be part of the mobile version of the game as well. And I personally think the test went smoothly without much of a problem. Now, personally, since I was mostly solo in the test, in that Citadel test, and I noticed not many people did actually join. And I first thought that it was that people weren't interested in, but it turns out that people were actually camping the gates around, so they were pretty much mostly focused on they were mostly focused on other players, not on the objective, which I find really funny. And compared to the other tests, I think this one was one of the more important ones, since it will be a major part of the game when the game gets released in mid-August.
So can you explain a bit about the differences in the tests you've had? Because you've played multiple betas now, and this has been a much different test. Like the Citadel tests, in compared to the other betas, we had like battles with the devs. So can you explain the differences and why that's significant?
Well, the first tests back in, I think it was January, the first mass test was there to pretty much measure the strength of the servers in case of a large-scale war. This test was important because it actually showed us a simulation of what might happen in the full version of the game. And I can say the servers did hold out real well, and there were pretty much no problems with the server and with the connection, and of course with the frame rate, which is also very important.
Is there anything specific worth mentioning that you found interesting to point out in this event specifically?
Well, I find it really interesting that the developers were very organized compared to the players. The developer fleet was very well organized, actually. They were uh, in the formation and they were pretty much working synchronized, which is very important for any fleet, since in these kinds of wars, the fleet that is more prepared, that has the better fleet commander, and of course that is overall um, better equipped, will definitely prevail in a combat situation in this game. Since the tactical feel and overall the tactics are what makes Eve very special compared to other games.
Which style do you fly? Are you a logi? Are you a DPS? Which is your preference?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I usually like to fly a DPS, or I usually like to fly a stealth bomber or any kind of ship that has the role in terms of dealing damage. And during the first test, I was flying a destroyer a lot. I think it was the Talvar trainer. I'm not quite sure, but it was. Let's say it was the Talvar since it was long ago. In this current test, I was also flying destroyers, frigates, pretty much cruisers, battle cruisers, and I'm preparing for a battleship now. So I was usually flying most of my time either a DPS or a tank.
And you said that the developers had really awesome fleet formation, like they were very organized. Were you how many fleet ops have you been on, or fleets have you tried, and what is some of the feedback that you have on the current state of fleets in Eve Echoes?
Well, in the Echoes, I actually was in several fleets, and I think one of the major problems is the lack of communication between the players. Since communication plays a big role in tactical situations, and you definitely have to have a very decent line of communication in the game, either Discord, TeamSpeak, or even in-game communication. But I think also there aren't many commands in the game that allows us for specific maneuvers. For example, I think fleet warp is not in the game currently. I didn't see any fleet warp, which I think is very important because you need to have that in order for everyone to warp at the same time at a target. And overall, but the biggest problem is definitely the communication that I've noticed so far in player fleets.
Of course, of course. I did think in the fleet operations we've been on, one of the biggest pieces of feedback I had was if you went in your overview and you tried to filter down, there was no way to filter down just your enemies. You kind of had all ships in there. So being able to add that filter would make a massive difference in a fleet.
Yes, I absolutely agree. That's true. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you think is there any kind of update specifically they could do to enhance fleet, or do you think maybe it's more of players needing more time to get more familiar with the controls and learn a little bit
Well,
more?
I think it's a combination of both. I think new commands need to be implemented, and of course, players will have to get used to the UI in the game. I mean, it's part of the game, and we have to get used to it since it will be there to stay.
Yes, of course. Now, in terms of warp, Marco Polo, he's one in my team, and we went on a fleet op. He's mentioning that fleet warp does work, but you have to individually accept the FC's command within 2 seconds. Then they also have that little field where you can see fleet commands, and you see the clock, and you can press any historical command so that you can either approach or follow whatever your fleet commander's command was. So
Interesting.
might be worth trying. Maybe after the stream we can go join up on a fleet, and I can show you
You know,
some of the things.
you just remind me. Yeah, that's actually true. But the problem that I did see, people were not clicking on that icon, I think, and everyone was warping pretty much alone, and that might end up in some messy situations.
Definitely. Now, did you played the last beta previously, right? Where they only had one
Yes,
click
yes.
to follow command. Do you like the secondary tap for the command, or do you wish that it kind of went back to the one tap accept?
Well, now when I think about it, it's a good question since I would like something in between that might have an optional or that you can switch in the options if you like. Maybe having both is actually a good idea.
I had at first I was kind of not too eager about the double tap, but then I realized maybe the part in it is not accidentally clicking that and doing something you're not intending to. I feel like having the double click makes it more of a touch response, and then showing the historical parts, you can still be able to warp. You can still be able to follow their historical commands. So I definitely thought that was interesting. And there is, I think, something to say about maybe players just not having enough time to be able to practice some of these things in terms of just the fleet operation, the fleet teamwork. What do you think to the size of the fleet?
Well, I think the fleet currently are capped to 50, right? 50 or 10. The current cooperation that I am in, we have at least, I think, 10 active members, and the biggest fleet that we've had is 7.
Okay.
In the, mhm, say?
Oh, I was going to say, oh, okay, that's awesome. So
Ah,
you've had
okay.
a full fleet then that you've run.
Yes, in Echoes, yes, I did. Now, I did see, I think, during the Citadel test, I did see at least 40 ships in a formation. I don't know what corporation that was, but that's one of the more synchronized and one of the more uh, better developed fleets that I've seen. And they were flying, I think, these battle cruisers, the new ones, the faction ones, and they were pretty much melting everyone. So I think current fleets, I think, are 50 in size. In time, I think they should be also increased because as the game gets bigger, the fleets are going to be bigger and bigger.
Definitely agree. Now, do you think there's going to be a point where they become too big in a mobile game for the amount of like stress test on that? how, like, what do you think about the size?
Well, I think mobile phones are progressing really fast. They're getting faster and faster every year, and there will be there will be the time when they are going to be capable of even operating several thousand ships on the same screen. So I think that isn't much of a problem in the longer run, since the technology will progress and the phones are going to be able to handle that.
Awesome. So, out of all the tests that you've done with the developers, including the Citadel and the battles, which one has been your favorite?
I think the first one is definitely my favorite because players were actually more focused on the objective, which was to destroy the developers. But I think this test actually was a lot more real because people were doing what they were told to do, and but definitely by sheer fun factor, the first test was more fun.
First test was definitely different. I think
Yeah.
we're being introduced to all these different features, so with such a limited time, it does kind of it's going to be impossible to fully be able to test the game. For example, the market's not going to be accurate. You know, it's only a 10-day beta, so there's definitely some things I think we're going to be able to see a difference or change. Now, during the Citadel event, what was the most common ship you saw? Do you think people stuck around with the test ship, or did they? What were some of the coolest ships you saw at the test?
Players were mostly flying the test ships. I remember I did see some Cortopses. I was in a bomber. I also saw a bomber fleet that didn't live long, and I also saw a couple battleships. The developers were flying faction battleships, which were really well equipped. They were really tanky. I think they had like 80, 90% resistances. Like my torpedoes were doing little damage to them. And the only like moment where I saw them taking damage is when 40 of these new faction battleships showed up and they started to melt everything. Everything what was in their sights got destroyed pretty quickly. Even myself, I also got sniped by them. So that's also something that happened to me.
Nice. Did you get any good kill mail?
Yeah, I have a couple good kill mails.
Oh, nice.
I kind of stopped counting how many kills I have since I think if I mention that number, that would be very dangerous for me.
Very true. Very true. So, do you have any other notes you'd like to let anyone who might be interested in trying Eve Echoes know?
Well, it's a good game to get into, if definitely. It's less complex than the original game, but of course, it still has that. It still will feel difficult, and I think it is a good game to get into the game since it is so far really good, and I do enjoy it.
And
And
I mean, coming from you, that's a lot because you've played Eve Online, so you've played both and you've seen both sides. Um, what's is there any differences compared to Eve Online versus Eve Echoes you like more in Echoes?
well, I think what most people will pretty much confirm is the fittings in the ship. In Echoes is a bit different. For example, the drones were moved from the high slots to the medium slots, and in EVE Online we have the drones in a separate window, and that definitely takes away from some modules because you have to equip the drone instead of the module, and pretty much so far the games are really close actually when I think about it. And the one thing that I want to be implemented from online into Echoes, well, that's a good question. I didn't think about it a lot, um, but I guess slowly the super capitals and capitals are going to be introduced. I know people don't like them, and they rightfully aren't liked because the game became online became a little bit too stale for people's taste because of the super capital fleets. And currently in Echoes, since there are no capitals, the fleets are going to be mostly consistent of either battle cruisers or battleships, and that allows for I think more fun gameplay. And so far, I think the game is decent. The game is very decent.
Very decent. So, if you had to ask NetEase to do one specific change, what would it be for Eve Echoes before they do their launch?
Well, I know people are asking for high frame rate, even though I think they will I think they will introduce that. The changes, well, honestly, currently I didn't encounter many bugs, although I know that there are some critical bugs. For example, the gate bug was present. The market wasn't is not working currently, I think,
Yep.
because I was trying to buy a clocking device for like 2 hours, and it just did not want to refresh. And I think that's a critical problem that needs to be fixed. And currently, besides that, I didn't encounter many other problems. That these are like the current problems that I only problems that I had at the moment.
That's great to hear. Well, how can anyone find you if they want to see some more of the content that you have? Because you have a YouTube channel, correct?
Yes, well, my YouTube channel is Virtual Person. Pretty much, people know me as Virtual Person for a very long time. It might not appear so, but I was in this YouTube business for like I think 3 years now. I did lose my first channel, but I am starting. I think I'm gonna start strong on the second one. And uh, if anyone wants to check out some Eve content, well, I guess they can search Virtual Person on the search bar, and I should be easy to find.
Awesome. And we also included your link in the description below. So if you guys are interested in adding Virtual Person, his YouTube link is in the description link. Just check it out and you be sure to subscribe. Well, that's all the time we have left for the show. Virtual Person, thank you so much for showing up and looking forward to seeing when the game launches what other kind of tests the devs will have up their sleeve, and looking forward to seeing some more of videos from you. Thank you.
Thank you for calling me. No problem.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for showing on Talking in Stations with the Echoes edition. Alexa, we are turning off the station.
Goodbye, future capsuleers, and thank you for watching the show. Be sure to subscribe and follow Talking in Stations. Your donations help fund a fish.
Bye, guys. Thanks. Have a good one.